Hey everybody, welcome. So today we're going to build this social media analysis dashboard, specifically a LinkedIn data analysis. And this was built by Kamal Jain on LinkedIn, one of my connections. It was done with Power BI and analyzes her data. So today we're going to do this. We're going to build the same app because I really liked it, but we're going to use Plotly Dash. So we're going to have dates here, and as we change the dates, the text here is going to change. We have Lottie Animations, we have regular text, we have my name here with a link that you can click on, and then you have a line chart, a bar chart, a pie chart, and a word cloud. So we're going to create all that, and all of this is actually interactive. So this changes as we change the dates. The numbers here change and this changes as well. So we are going to do this slowly. We're going to start because I really want to teach you how to do this on your own and how to manage the components and the Bootstrap and the layout. So after this tutorial, you're not limited to this dashboard, but you know the documentation and you can read it and you can create your own dashboards on your own. So we'll start with the wireframe. We'll see how to build this 4 different rows and put the cards the way they should be, right? You see how here we have rows, 2 cards, 3 cards, same thing here. All the rows, 2 cards, 3 cards. So we're going to build that. And then we're going to add the components. We're going to add with this second app, we're going to add the date picker. It doesn't do anything. It just, we're adding it. We're going to add the Lottie Animations, and we're going to add the text here, right? And also these dash graph components without the figures, but these are components that are added to the page, okay? And after we're done with that, probably next week, next tutorial, then we're going to start connecting everything. So now in this one, we're going to connect the dates to these components, so these change. And then we're also going to connect the dates to the graphs. All right, so these 4 different apps, which are the same but just different stages, are all here. Jupyter A layout, B, C, and D. All right, we're going to start with A today. You can also find them in the GitHub. So there's a lot of files here, but you only need like 1 or 2. If you want to follow along, it's Jupyter A, B, C, and D. If you want to do PyCharm or Visual Studio's, the Py files, just do A, B, C, and D. And these are the CSV documents that I'm using from my LinkedIn. All right. If you just want to see the final app, how it looks, just download the D final analysis to your, if you're using PyCharm or Visual Studios or Atom, or if you're using Jupyter Lab, download this, and which is right here, the D, the final, and just run it, because I'm taking the data from GitHub that I uploaded, so you can just run it. Click enter to run it, and then this should show up for you. Obviously, you have to download these libraries, which I'm going to show you how to do in about 5 minutes. Okay. So this is what you want to end up with, but we're going to go slowly again because I really want to show you how to do this on your own step by step. All right, as always, remember under the video, not only will you find the GitHub code, but you can also find the video layout in case you want to jump to different sections of the video. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is download the data, right? Your data, if you want to analyze your data. So you go into LinkedIn, click on your profile, and click on Settings and Privacy. Once you click on that, it will go here, get a copy of your data. Click on that, and then you can choose certain parts. I think I did download large archive, request archive. It will take about, I think it took about 2-3 hours, and they sent it to my email, right? And then it's a zip file, which is called complete LinkedIn data. So you'll have all this data. Now I just used, there's 20 CSV sheets here. I just used about 4 of them which I cleaned up, so there's no like confidential information on there, and I put on GitHub. So you'll see the messages CSV, the connections, the invitations, and reactions. But if you do it with your data, with your LinkedIn, it should be exactly the same. Just replace this data with your data, and when you go into the layout, if you're going into the final layout, just put it right here, right? Put your CSV sheet instead of the GitHub connections one that I have. Okay, so you downloaded the data. The next thing you want to do is open the jup-a-layout only, this file. In fact, I'm going to open this file, and then you can try and run it. If it doesn't work, you want to make sure to pip install some of these libraries, right? So if you don't have dash, you pip install dash. Copy, and go open a command prompt like this, and let's do pip install dash. After you pip install dash, if that takes about 10 minutes, then you pip install dash extensions. You want to install this, right? And then pip install dash bootstrap. And then Plotly comes with dash, so you don't need to do this, but you do have to install pandas, and you should install cloud, word cloud. Okay, we're not going to use all these libraries right now, but you might as well start, download everything, because in C and in D, the next tutorial, we're actually going to use these libraries, right, in order to create the word cloud and other things. Okay, so you downloaded these libraries. Now what you're going to do is this. This line of code, I'm going to go over line of code line by line so you understand what everything is doing here. In this part, we are starting the app on Jupyter, and we're calling a CSV, a Bootstrap theme, right? This is the Lux theme. You can explore. My friend Anne made this beautiful theme explorer. You can go here, copy paste, and you'll see all the different themes. If you go to this is Bootstrap, but the regular theme, Bootstrap also has Cosmos, so you'll see how it changes a little bit. Journal, you'll see the color change a little bit, and this changes here. Let's try one more. Let's try Pulse. You see this is a little bit different, a bit clean, and even the button, the button, what do you call this? Around the button, it also changes the frame. So these are all the themes that are available. If you want to, you can just change it. Go in here and just change it from Lux to a different theme. Always make sure that it's capitalized. The theme have to be capital letters, the whole thing. Okay, and then we start the layout. The layout is always going to start like this with dash bootstrap in the container. Parentheses, and then you open the children, the list, and the list ends here, right? And after the list ends, we're going to put fluid true. By doing fluid true, you'll see this is an example. It means, no, maybe I'll show you here. It means that the app will try to take the whole width of the page, right? If you put fluid false, you'll see like today's websites that like to put narrow content and then on the side there's like empty space. That would be fluid false. Try it. Try change it to false and you'll see how there's empty space on the sides. Here, because I put fluid true, you'll see that there is no empty space on the sides. A little bit here, but just because I didn't use all columns. You're supposed to use 12 columns. I only use 10. So my recommendation, change this to false and see what happens. All right, so we have the container. Now, the next thing you want to do is build your rows, okay? To build your rows, you put dbc row, and you open it, the parentheses and the children, and then you put stuff in it, and then you're going to close it, right? So because in our app, look here, in our app, we have, let me show you here. We have one row, all of this, and then this is the second row, this is the third row, and this is the fourth row. So we're going to need 4 rows, right? So if you go back, you see we have one, oops, where is it? There we go. You see we have one row like this, and then we build another row right here. We'll talk about what goes inside the row later, but this is the second row. You see here we have the third row that ends here. And here we have the fourth row. So we have 4 rows. And inside each row, we have a DBC column component. This doesn't mean it's 1 column or 2 columns, it's just a component. Later we define how many units it has, how many columns, but this is a component. So here we have 1 column component, 2 column components inside this row. And why do we have 2 column components? Because we have 1 column here and then 1 column here. There's 2 column components inside this row. Inside the second row, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 column components, and then 2, and then 3. So let's take a look. The second row we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 column components. Each one is 2 columns wide. 2, 2, 2, 2. And then in the third row, this is the third row, we have 2 column components. The first one is 6 columns wide, or 6 units, and the second one is 4 units. Let's go back to the app. We'll see we have 6 units here, and this is 4 units. So from here, from the left all the way to the right is 10 columns. You can do up to 12 columns on a page, but I'm just going to use 10 for this app. Also, it's easier because we have 5 cards, and 5 divides by 10, but not by 12. So I'm going to do 10 columns. So this is 6 and 4, and this is 3, 3, and 4. Let's take a look. The last row we have 3 column components, and then we define the width is 3. This width is 3, and the third one is 4. So it's bottom from top to bottom, and then it's like it's defined on the page from left to right. From left to right. All right. So this is how you define the units or the width number of columns for each column component. Okay. So we have our 4 rows, and we have column components in each row. And now we're putting inside the column components, we're going to put empty cards. This is DBC card. If you want to learn more about DBC card, so to learn more about the DBC card, go here. I'll put this link under the video. Go into components, and then we'll go into cards. All right, and the cards, you'll see examples of many different cards that are used here. A regular card, a card body. When I started, I just copy pasted and I used it in my app. Right. All the way in the bottom, you'll see the properties and the options. So you have a card deck, you have a card group component, you have a regular card, and inside the card, you usually will have either a card header and a card body. And I'm also using a card link, you'll see, and a card image. So these are all the different options. So here we're using a card, right, inside the first column component. And inside this card, I'm going to use a card image because I want to put this LinkedIn image in there, right? So this card image, the source is going to be the image itself. This comes from my assets folder, and this is the name of the image. So if we go here, you'll see, where do I have it? YouTube. These are all my tutorials. Let's go into dash. I think I was there already. You'll see here we have assets. It has to be spelled like this. And inside the assets, we have this LinkedIn logo too, right? So this is why it's referring to that LinkedIn image, all right? But this goes inside the card image, and that is why this is displayed, right? And the image is this wide, 150 pixels wide and 45 pixels height. That's how I did it. Now all the rest of the cards, I'm just putting card body. I'm just going to put an empty card body inside each card, because a card this cannot come alone. Like, you can't have just a card. A card has to come with something inside, either an image or a link or a body if you're going to put text or you're going to put other dash components in there. So I'm gonna, all of them are gonna be body. This one has a body, this one, let's go to these 5, you see this 5 cards right here, these 5 that are going to be this. So this 5 is the second row, and here you have the column with the card body, just a regular card body, another regular card body, and we have 5 of these, 5 card bodies, all the way to the bottom. Okay. The last thing I do here to create this is I'm adding space between each row. If you don't add space like this, MB2, then everything is going to be stuck together. So we don't want that. We want a little bit of space on the bottom of each row, so they're not stuck together, the rows to one another. How do we do that? So let me show you. Okay, so to do that, you just go into this Bootstrap cheat sheet. I will try to add it under the video as well. And here you will see that if you go to, you'll just look for spacing. Where is the spacing here? And you'll see here there's what are we using? We're using MB2, right? You have to call the class name attribute that belongs to the card. Every dash bootstrap and dash component have a class name attribute, and then you'll put the bootstrap class as like a string, right? So this class is MB2. MB2, if you'll go here, this is MB1, and then you'll see it's hard to see spacing here, but that's the idea of the spacing. MB is a margin on the bottom. You can do margin on the left. You see. Here we have spacing of 1, ML1, ML2, ML3, a little bit more spacing, ML4, and a little bit more spacing, ML5. Or maybe it starts from 0, I'm not sure. Right? So there's sometimes you can understand the examples. ML is margin left, margin bottom, margin right, and margin top. So I'm just going to do a margin bottom. Instead of 1, I'm going to do 2 units. Okay, so it's a little bit more space than 1. I have a margin bottom between this card and between this card right under it, which is right here. It's right this space right here. That's why they're not stuck together, because this is a margin bottom 2. Same thing I have with under each row. I have this row that ends right here, right? And then I'm going to put margin bottom 2. Space margin top 2. So that means I have in this row I have margin bottom here. You can see it in the full app. You'll see a margin bottom here. There's space. And then margin top, there's also space of 2 units on top here, so it's not stuck to the top of the page. And same thing here, margin bottom 2 under this row, and on the 4th row also margin bottom 2. As you can see, margin bottom and margin bottom. Even the last one I do 2 units of margins space, 2 units of space in the margin bottom under the last row. Right here, there's a little bit of space. Okay? So this is how we build the wireframe. This is how we build the layout of our app using Dash Bootstrap. If you want to see more about how to use the width of a column, how to use rows, I have a complete video on that you can click above my head here on an introduction to Dash Bootstrap, and it goes over all of this, which with a little bit more detail, so you can learn more about it. Okay, so now that we're done with A, we're going to go into the step number 2, which is we're going to add these components. We're going to add Lottie Animations. We're going to add text. We're going to add HTML here, and we're going to add these graphs, right? These dash graphs. So for that, you're going to have to download or use the B-layout component if it's a Py document, or I'm using the Jupyter B-layout right here with components, Jupyter B. So it's this one right here. Okay, this is the code that's creating this this second step of the dashboard. Okay, so if you install all the libraries, you don't have to install everything again. You already have them. The next thing you want to do, well, this is the Lottie. This is the Lottie Animations. We'll go over that in a few minutes. Here we're doing the same with Bootstrap. And now here we have our layout container, right? This is exactly the same thing like we had before. This is exactly like an A. The only difference is that now inside each card body, we're adding a component, a dash component, a core component, or a dash HTML component, or a Bootstrap component, right? So we have the exact same rows, it's the exact same columns, everything is the same. Even the card image is the same because we had that in A. The only difference, the width of this is the same, the class name is the same. The only difference is that we're adding dash components inside the body, right? So let's take a look. Here we're going to add the DBC card link, which is in our dash bootstrap, one of the components, card link, and it has these attributes, right? We're going to add the card link. Actually, if you go up, you'll see an example here of the card link somewhere. So we're adding DBC card link. This is the text that's going to be there. And then we're going to have the link is going to be to my YouTube channel. And target _ blank means that if you click on the link, it will open in a different page. It's not going to open in this tab. It's going to open in a different tab. Okay? So this is what the _ blank means. So this is the link, and this was added inside this card body, just like you have here. I'm just adding it right here. This is where I'm adding the DBC card link, okay? All right, so now let's add something into this, inside this card body, which belongs to the column with 8, which belongs to this one right here. So what are we adding here? You guessed it, we're adding the dash date picker, right? We're going to add this. So if you go back to B, go into the second card body, second card, and then here we're going to add two date picker single. We're going to add dash date picker single, one, the left one, and this is going to be the right one. All right. Now, where does this come from? This is very important because dash has many different components. We chose one of them, the date picker single. Let's see how we get these. Okay, so there we go. It's right here, dash core components. If you go to dash main documentation, you'll go into core components right here, which is under source component library. Open it, and you'll see all the components that dash has. This is not Bootstrap component, it's not DBC, it's DCC, right? Dash core components, what you'll see here, DCC. Okay, so dash core components, we're going to take the date picker single, not the range, but the single. And here you'll see examples of how to use a date picker single, right? A few examples here. And this is some attributes, date types, more examples. Dash has really nice examples. And then all the way at the bottom, always at the bottom, you'll see different attributes that you can use inside the date picker single. Right? So we're going to use the ID to give it an ID. We're going to use the date. What else are we going to use? ID, and we're going to use the date, right? The date that is chosen by default. So if you go here, you'll see that, if you go here, you'll see that the date by default when the app starts is 1/1/2018, right? 1/1/2018. And the date chosen here is April 4th, 2021. April 4th. Oh, I have to, if I restart the app, this will be April 4th, 2021, not April 7th. So that's it. I'm only using the ID and the date. That's it. And then I'm given this class name. Again, this class name is an attribute. Class name is an attribute, right? Where you put a CSS class into it. So the CSS class we're putting in here in the form of a string is from Bootstrap, right? And this Bootstrap ML5 is margin left 5, right? Remember, we looked in here. This is margin left 1, and there's margin left all the way to 5, right? Which means if I put margin left 5 in the first date picker on the left, it means that here there is 5 units of space between the end of the beginning of the card and the beginning of the date picker. And then here in the second date picker to the right, I have margin left 2. This is margin left 2 right here. And I also have margin bottom 2, right? And I'm putting margin bottom 2 because I want space between this and the bottom of the card. Okay. You can always play around with it. Change this to 4, change this to 5, and see what happens. Okay. 5 is the highest amount. And then I'm saying I'm just going to call this DBC card has a color attribute, and info is the color is this color, the color kind of blue. So that's why I chose info in there. Okay, so that's the date picker range. The next one is the second row. In the second row, the first column component is right here, the second row. And in the second row, the first column component is going to be this card. All right, so how we're building this card. This card has a card header, and the card header is actually the Lottie animation. This is the card header, this animation. And underneath the header, we have the card body, where we have HTML H6 and HTML H2. This is a dash HTML component. So if you go all the way up, instead of core component, close this, open HTML components, you'll see HTML H6 and H2. It's just the size of the text that's going to go in there. H2 is a little bit bigger, it's a header, and H6 is a little bit smaller. So I'm putting here H2 is connections, and H2 is going to be 000 for now, right? So if we go into B, you'll see 000, this is a little bit bigger, this is H2, and this is H6, so it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're pretty much doing this the same for every single card. If you go down here, and the Lottie, right? In the second card, again, we're doing a Lottie. We're just changing the URL, and we H6, H2. Different text, obviously. Card header, body. In the third card, we have invites received, and then in the H2 is 000, a little bit bigger. Invites received, and this is a little bit bigger. Okay. So we're doing that for all the 5 cards here. Now, how do we bring in the Lottie? The Lottie animation right here comes from right here. First of all, we imported a Lottie from Dash Extensions library, and then what we did is we defined the URL. And this URL is actually a JSON file on the web. So let's go find this JSON file. Okay, so this Lottie, you have to go into this link, lottie.com, and then you click here, you'll search for network. This is how I found this image right here. Okay, network. And then in the network, you go down, I chose this one. So you can click on this. And once you click on it, you'll have the HTTP right here. So you can copy it. And this is actually this. This you put inside your code right here. Right? This is the JSON file. And that's it. I also found this JSON file for companies, which is this little cute animation right here, and so on and so on. So put this JSON file, it's in there, and then this is, you don't have to worry about this. This will always be the same. Loop means it's going to loop automatically. It's not going to stop after one loop. Autoplay true, and then you have this. So all you have to do is every Lottie is just put the URL. So this is going to be the URL connection. This is going to refer to this one. It's going to be our first Lottie. I define the width and the height, and then options equal options, and that's it, right? Now the width and the height changes a little bit between cards. I'm not sure why, because the animations are all supposedly the same size here, but I guess on the JSON file they're a bit different. Not sure, but I just played around with the width to make sure that they all have more or less the same size. Okay, so this is how you put Lottie in there. The next piece of code after we put the Lottie is the third row, right? In the third row, we have our line chart and our bar chart. Where is it? our third row. So we have this row, and then we have our fourth row, right? Which is going to be like this, our third row and our fourth row, okay? So our third row, we're going to have 2 column components. One is 6 units wide, then the other one is 4, 6, 4, and we're going to put the DCC graph in there. This is a graph component. The figure is empty. There's not going to be any Plotly figure in it. You see there's empty for now, but you have a component in there. You have a dash component. Remember the first app? We didn't have any component in there. It was just a card and a card body. But now inside the card body, we're going to put a DCC graph. DCC graph is dash core component. So if you go into close HTML, go into core component, you'll see the DCC graph. And here is all the different examples of what you can do with the DCC graph. And then in the bottom, like always, you have attributes, different things you can do with the attributes. I go all over on this video above my head, all over the DCC graph and the different attributes that you can use if you really want to learn about the DCC graph. But for now, the most important attribute is the ID that we're going to use later, and then the figure. If you go down here, figure. Where are you, figure? There we go. So this is the figure right here, and this will take a Plotly. This will take a Plotly figure, Plotly Express or graph objects. So if you go here, if you go into the code, we're building this DCC graph as the ID of a line chart and just an empty dictionary. You don't need to define this figure. You can leave it empty, but I put it just for tutorial purposes so you can see. Figure is an empty dictionary. Here is our second chart. Graph, and it's going to be called bar chart. The ID have to be different. Make sure you always have different IDs. You can't have 2 components with the same IDs. So this is the bar chart, and that's it. This is in that row, right? The line chart and the bar chart right here. This is going to be a line chart, and this is going to be a bar chart. And under here, I'm not going to put anything in here. Here I'm going to put a pie chart, and here I'm going to put a word cloud. So this is the last row right here. This ID is going to be TBD, to be determined. I'm going to allow you to put anything you want inside of it. And to the right, I'm going to put a pie chart graph, and then I'm going to put a word cloud. They're empty right now, but when you go to C and when you go to D, the final app, you'll see that the callback will actually return a figure inside. They will turn a figure inside these empty dictionaries of all the dash components. Okay. Okay, so that is it. That is what I wanted to show you today. I don't want it to make this tutorial too long. If you want to dive right in there in the deep waters and you want to copy this and run the app and try to understand how to do the callbacks, please feel free. It's on my GitHub, and you can read and you can try and decipher this code and understand how it goes. Next tutorial, I'm going to go over C and over D to explain how we connect the date picker to the text here, to the HTML2, right? So every time we change the date picker, these change as well. And then in that same tutorial, I'm going to go over Jupyter D final analysis, where we're connecting all the graphs together. So you'll see how when we change a date, all these graphs change. You see, they're the same line chart and bar chart, but the word cloud will change and the data inside is going to change as well. Great. I hope to see you next week. I'm going to add these links under the video. It's very important that you read the documentation, because the better you are with the documentation, the easier it is for you to then work with any component you want, whether it's Bootstrap or whether it's Dash. So read, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in the next tutorial to finalize this app, and hopefully you can download your own LinkedIn data and do your own analysis. Thank you. If you'd like to support me, there's a Patreon link above. It really helps me build these tutorials, and it means a lot to me, so I hope to see your support. And like always, never give up. Keep practicing, and always remember we're better together, so help each other out. See you next week. Bye-bye.